Silence as Yoga. So we are back with this book, chapter number 4. Today we are going to read Silence as Yoga by Swami Paramananda ji. So what does the practice of silence tell us? Loud speech, profusion of words, and possessing skillfulness in expounding scriptures are merely for the enjoyment of the learned. They do not lead to liberation. And this is what Shankaracharya ji has said. So we see that silence, just knowing the Vedas is not enough. This is what even Shankaracharya is saying. So let's read what Maharaj has to say today to us. The best shrine man can ever create for the Supreme is his own heart. There are places where holiness pervades, but that which makes them holy is the human soul, living in the consciousness of God. We can all create such shrines by the absence of anger, by the practice of humility, compassion, forgiveness, and faith. When every act is made an act of devotion, then quickly the living presence is felt within. But we cannot feel this presence except in the silence. That silence, however, is not so much external. Silence as the silence of the inner being. So long as there is any unrest within us, we cannot hope to perceive or reflect the Spirit of God, nor can we penetrate into the innermost recesses of our being. When, however, all turbulence ceases, then we grow conscious of the divine presence and have a realization of the inner life. There are two ways to practice silence. One is through absence of thought, the other through fullness of thought. The second is productive of great strength. When we try to empty the mind, there is danger of its falling into a dull, negative state, which opens it to many possible weakening influences. This is often the origin of mental depression, melancholy, and those forms of insanity which are due to obsession. When, on the contrary, we are able to find the mind with one dynamic thought, not only does it fortify us against outer and inner danger, but of itself it will empty the mind of all alien thoughts. Even a weak person, by following this method, will soon develop a certain tranquility and strength. There are two opposite elements constantly playing on the human mind. The one, known in Sanskrit as tamas, creates a state of heaviness, dullness, indiscrimination, and dejection. The other, called rajas, carries the thought to the opposite extreme of overactivity, turbulence, noisy aggression, and ostentation. At the point where these contending elements attain perfect balance, a third state, known as sattva, is produced. In this state only is true silence possible. In sattva, we have positive silence. In tamas, the negative. The two kinds may seem to resemble each other outwardly. One, overpowered by dullness, may appear tranquil, but it is a very different condition from the one which is serene stillness of sattva, where all the faculties of the mind are wide awake and full of light. This higher form of silence, however, cannot be acquired in a moment. To cultivate it, we must master all our forces, and this means steady practice. First, we must try, so far as we can, to have a healthy body, for any physical disturbance easily destroys the silence of the mind. But a healthy body is not all. A healthy mind is better. And when we have spiritual health, that is the best of all. It begins a less tangible form of health. People do not attach so much importance to it. Yet without it, we can never have true health of the mind or the body. Spiritual attainment requires great patience. It appears at times almost beyond our reach because it seems to call for so much sacrifice. What we must make sacrifices for everything we earn on any plane. And in reality, spiritual sacrifice is not so great because the return is so much richer and more enduring. Whenever we follow our higher instincts instead of our lower ones, we humanize the animal in us, and the noisier, more excitable part of our nature is quietened. The idea of silence is not merely avoiding action, it is bringing all our scattered and undisciplined forces wholly under control. So long as our heart is agitated, our mind stormy, and our nerves distracted, it is not possible for us to have unobstructed vision or the power of clear decision. But when the moments of stillness come, we have flashes of understanding which make our path clear. It is interesting to note how the practice of silence enters into the heart of every vital religion. Whether it takes the form of quiet reflection, inaudible prayer, or some other special ritual of worship, it has always one aim in view, and that is to make the heart of the worshipper detach from the influence of the loud and distracting material world. The Quaka mystics fully realized the value of silence and carefully incorporated it in their mode of worship. The following gives an example of their faith. First began the stilling of the mind and the soul. The very activity of the brain may make a man a bad listener, and listening was our goal. The intellect needs to learn how to be still, no less than the body, if it is to concentrate all its powers. This bringing of the mind away from its distractions and restlessness to a single and sustained attention on God is the crux of the whole matter. The recollection of God under some aspect of His boundless immensity, His greatness, His awful sanctity, His enfolding being, His presence in the soul of man, these are cosmic thoughts in themselves, casting upon the mind the hush and still wonder which is the avenue to contemplation. Thus we pass to the center of our silence. The will is at its highest activity. Just as an insect poised in the air, seeming motionless with wings in such rapid motion that they are invisible, is all the while sustained by its resistance to the air, so the will in this listening is not passive. It holds fast to its rest in God by sustained resistance to all that would drag it down or invade its silence. This is very far from making the mind a blank. It is the filling of the mind with God to the exclusion of all else. Not in words or visions or signs did we look for the communication of God. Thoughts rising spontaneously, movements and stirrings welling up from the depths of the soul, the inner glory of God hidden in the soul of man, emerging, filling the temple. None of these words, images, conveys what can be conveyed. Only we knew God, and we knew that we knew Him. The practice of silence has to do with every part of our system. There is a silence of the body, a silence of the mind, and the silence of the heart. Until all these are tranquilized, we cannot know what true silence is. The body is silent when it is free from both motion and tension. It must be wholly relaxed, yet firm and quiet. This is gained by the practice of posture, which is one of the most essential exercises in developing the power of meditation. Posture teaches us not only to hold the body still in some fixed position at special times, but at all times to avoid every superfluous motion and maintain equilibrium. Nothing helps more to conserve our physical energies than this form of silence. It also has great healing power. The mind acquires silence through the persistent practice of discriminative elimination and concentration. As it comes in contact with the external world, it learns to distinguish between vital and non vital, real and unreal. Then, discarding the unreal and the non vital, it focuses itself with ardor upon the object of its attention. The heart grows still and full of gladness through meditation, which is an unbroken flow of the thought and feeling towards the ideal. In the inner, in the inner realm, serenity, not inactivity, brings the sense of silence. Perfect balance and calmness never fails to generate great power throughout the whole organism. Only in this state do we see the manifestation of the highest intelligence. Exercises in silence are like exercises given to soldiers, a sort of spiritual drill. Their effect must be seen in all that we do, because whatever we undertake with the aid of a well disciplined mind, trained to absolute attention, cannot fail to be more efficiently done. This is why it is so needful for us to gain more and more the habit of silence and one pointedness. Only so can we create an island for ourselves. The sages declare that each one can make for himself an inner island which no storm can overwhelm. This is the purpose of all spiritual practice. Thus, if a person who is distracted with thoughts of sickness, sorrow, perplexity, and can sit quietly and hold thoughts of purity and divine wisdom, very soon he will begin to feel the unbounded nature of his own soul and of the cosmic life of which he is a part, and his whole being will be filled with strength and tranquility. When we are disturbed by our association or environment, if we are able to practice silence, that is, detach our thought wholly from the distracting condition and hold it firmly on some higher thought, even for a few moments, it will restore our equilibrium. We shall be lifted out of the condition and feel as if we had been bathed in fresh, clear water. Whenever we spend even a moment in silent communion with our spiritual ideal, we are revived and ready to start on our way once more. How can we hope to hear the subtle voice of the Spirit as long as we are listening to all the noises of the world? It is not possible. That is why silence is so necessary. We must close all our senses because it is through these doors that the sounds of the words or the world reaches us. If we wish to commune with God, we must disconnect ourselves from all distracting influences. No one is nearer to us than God, but we must know it. The more we are engrossed in the world, the less do we have the opportunity to seek Him. When we are not awake and attentive to the higher plane, things of the Spirit do not touch us. Purity of heart, openness of mind, willingness to follow, these constitute the whole of spiritual life. When we have these, God bestows on us all His choicest gifts. We must work with one pointed devotion, with a sense of consecration, and with undepressed heart. We must also cultivate the power to receive, then nothing can hold us back. If we will but live a silent, prayerful life, striving to strengthen our purpose and to quiet the noisy voice of the ego within us, God will make our steps steady and unfaltering, infill us with His divine wisdom, and bless us with the consciousness of His holy presence. So, our prayer is, may He bless us with the presence of His holiness. Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Do like and share our videos and stay tuned to Devakshar. Thank you so much for being with us. Namaskar.